Hi, I'm Carlton, and this is The Serving Effect, where we uncover the incredible power of serving others through stories of members of our community just like you and I. We will bring you inspiring stories of people and organizations who are transforming lives through acts of service, both big and small. We're going to explore how everyday heroes are building stronger, more connected communities through their dedication to helping others. These stories remind us that each of us has the ability to create positive change and be a part of something greater than ourselves. So whether you're already serving your community or you're just looking for some inspiration to start, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Today we have Dana Wooten, who is the Clayton Chamber Executive Director. We go way back, and she's got so many things that's happening in Johnston County she's going to share with us. But start off first, welcome.
Thank you for having
And
me. I
tell us a
appreciate
little bit about yourself to start off with.
that. Okay. Well, I was actually born in Virginia. We're going way back. That's a way back. So I moved to Johnston County when I was 11. So I like to say I'm a hillbilly born, but redneck bred. Does that make sense?
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. We'll take it.
So anyway, but both my parents' families from the hills of Virginia.
Okay.
And moved here when I was 11, moved to Smithfield. And went to school, grew up, went to Triple S, graduated from there, and I have a brother who works for Griffles, and a sister who's a dentist in Smithfield.
Okay.
And so, fast forward, I went to Chapel Hill. I know that's good
That's
and
not gonna
bad
go
for
over
some
well, but
people.
that's
I know,
okay.
but go Hills. My blood is blue. It always has been. And then I graduated from Carolina and moved back to Smithfield. And it's really funny because I think back to my service and when all that started for me was in high school. I was a member of the Juniorette Club, which was a high school program that was related to the women's club. So you had the women's club, you had the junior women's club, and you had the juniorettes, which were the high school group, kind of
Okay.
like Kiwanettes or the Key Club or
Right, right.
anything like that. But this was related to the women's club, and I started my career in service there. My siblings played sports, and I dabbled at it, and I've got some funny sports stories about myself, but I just never was all that athletic. My brother and sister were extremely athletic. So we had all these trophies, all over the house, baseball and football and tennis and basketball. And so I will have to say my claim to fame is that I was the North Carolina State Juniorette of the Year one year.
Okay.
So I did win a national award, and I got like this little Jefferson Cup. And so my little Jefferson Cup sat in the midst of all my brother and sister's trophies. And I kept telling my mom, you need to put a spotlight on the mantle and just spotlight that one Jefferson Cup because that's pretty dang
I think
special.
that is special. That is special. Do you remember anything about a lot of serving talks and what we talk about is serving comes from the influences of others. So
Yeah.
if the women's club, do you remember anything that from that experience where it was like all of a sudden there was not necessarily a moment, but
Sure.
during that time where they were mentoring and
Yeah.
giving you opportunities?
I'll do that. But I'd like to back up a little further than that.
Sure.
I think I got my servant heart from my grandmother.
Okay.
My grandmother was extremely giving. I cannot compare myself to her because I think she was way up here, and I'm here. But she always gave of herself within her church community, within the community that she lived. She worked as a recreational therapist, raised 2 children by herself, and worked as a recreational therapist in the state mental hospital in the prison. And so I just remember her just giving of herself 24/7 and was always do things for people in her community, do things for her family. And that's sort of where my servant heart, that was the example
Okay.
of that I first was exposed to that kind of giving of yourself and putting others first. And then in the women's club, I had a mentor who led our group, and she sort of molded myself and a couple of other girls, and taught us what it meant to give back to your community. So that's sort of where all that started.
So you had a foundation that you were seeing in your
Hmm.
grandmother, and then this fostered, this gave you a step up. So now you're not seeing it, but you're starting to do it in there. I think it's so important that we get to young people and give them a chance
Oh,
to see things,
absolutely.
because as your grandmother, it was a lifestyle. It wasn't a
Yes.
special
No,
event.
it was a
Yeah,
lifestyle for
and I
her.
think people see volunteering as a special event. Like I'll carve out and I'll do this one time, or I'm going to do it for this one place, but they really don't see it in their lifestyle. Like giving is just part of their life.
Yes,
And we can work in what we want to
that's correct.
in our life. We can make time for whatever we really want to do. So
That's
volunteering can
true.
be one.
That's
So
true.
let's get into. We're going to get way away from the Carolina thing, and we
Oh,
don't want
come
to go
on
visit.
now.
We don't want to
I'm
know
not
anything
really
about.
liking talking about that right now, anyways.
So we're going to move into the our experience with you. Able to serve had an experience with you, and the picture's
Yes.
still there.
Yeah.
But it was an experience that to tell everyone we had one experience like this. So if there's
Uh,
any realtors out there who want to think about this, but this was a great opportunity for realtors, and it was a great opportunity for our folks to actually get shown a
yeah.
house, which is something that they would never experience on their own. They might with mom and dad.
Yeah. So we had in Johnston County we have the Parade of Homes. Gosh, Carlton, when was this?
S-
Twen- ugh,
Long time,
a long
long
time
time
ago.
ago.
And I was working with the Realtor Association as their association executive. And Lisa Kennedy was very involved in Able to Serve
Yes,
at
she
that
was.
time. And I was on my board of directors. And we always went to a house and we toured homes and we did all that, but we wanted a give back component. Um, and it was the very first year we ever did that. And she said, "We really need to have Able to Serve to come." I said, "That would be fantastic." And so Art Kirkwood had a parade of home, and you brought your group there, and they got to tour the home, and the they got to create books of what their dream home looked like, and take a tour of the house. And I'm telling you that I've never forgotten that, because it was so extremely special to me to hear their hopes and dreams. And tell what you just said, that people think about the accommodations that special needs adults need, not what they feel like their home needs to
Right,
be.
right. What we did, we studied. We looked at pictures of houses, and so we had a lot of magazines.
Yeah.
And so you were to cut out pictures of things that you wanted to be in your house, which
Hmm.
really worked out well when Art said, well, if you ever want to build a house, and we gave him all these books and said, we
Yeah.
already know what we want.
It
But
was.
it was not about wheelchair ramps. It wasn't about anything other than I'd like my house to have a screened-in porch. I'd like my house to be by a lake because it's
Yeah.
so serene to be by a lake. So the other thing that I want to thank you again and again and again for that you took our folks in small groups. And
Hmm.
so they really got a chance to interact with a realtor. If we'd have gone around and just kind of moved people, that would have been this big group, and certain ones may have asked you some questions. But
Yeah.
by taking them two or three at a time and going around, I still remember the man cave that I want to one day have.
Yeah.
The theater room, I think,
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah.
Yes, very nice, very nice. But it was just a great experience. We had lunch. Zaxby's
Uh-huh. Yeah.
provided lunch
Yeah.
in this big 3 bay garage and stuff, and
Yeah.
so we got to meet Art, and he told us a little bit about being a builder and things. So
Mhm.
very educational um, experience for us,
Yeah.
for our guys to not be with mom and dad and really grapple with,
Yeah.
what would I want in a house and what are some important things. And we're looking at something really gorgeous. And I never heard anybody say this is the kind of house I want. It would be I like the way that was
Yes.
set up, or I like that
Yeah.
den the way it was, or those kind of things. That was
Yeah.
great experience, and I want to thank you again. That was and Lisa for giving us a chance to
Yeah.
do something like that. I think that is what in any business people think of is that would be their whole of mind is what kind of accommodations. It's really not. If I think about a vehicle,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about one that is cool. I want to see the things that I
Yeah.
want in one. So that was a great
Absolutely.
experience. So
Yeah.
let's move on to moving into the Chamber of Commerce. And is this where you went from the Realtor
I
Association to?
went from the Realtor Association to the Clayton Chamber of Commerce, and so this is, I guess, be my ninth year, coming up on my ninth year. And I have loved being at the Clayton Chamber of Commerce. And one of the things that I love is about it is that it gives me an opportunity to serve the business community and their needs, and also the community as a whole. And one of the things that I loved about going to the chamber is that there was lots of opportunity there when I got there, because we had a few programs of work, but not a lot. So it gave me a chance to build a fantastic team there at the chamber. It also gave us an opportunity to build some programs of work that mean something and that have a give back and serve component to them, and because that's very important to me in anything that we do.
Right, right. And it's not just about networking. I think people, that is a
No,
big component.
it is a
But
huge
but I think
component.
a lot of the what happens when I've been, at the meetings is there are things that are talked about as far as community needs. We're a member, and so we're able to share, how much more we want to be in Johnson County,
Right.
the people that we do have, but how do we reach more into Johnson County? There's other needs that are talked about, and
Hmm.
leadership opportunities. If you want to be a person who volunteers in your leadership programs, those kind of things. There's multiple opportunities.
Oh
But
yeah.
with the growth of Clayton, what do you see with the opportunities that are happening there? Because it seems like it's a sprawling city now. It's our town.
It
It's not one
is.
place.
We were just talking about that this morning, trying to imagine what Clayton looks like in the next 3 years, and what is coming to Clayton and what opportunities are going to be there. And, and I think we're going to be able to give more workforce opportunities. I think we are going to be able to increase and grow our small business development program called Launch Joco, which has been, for me, it's been my heart project, to be quite honest. I love a lot of things that we do, but to actually see a business start in this program and where they end up in this program has been just transformational for them, and it just gives all of us that are involved so much joy that we have been able to make a huge difference in someone's life and give them the tools that they need to be a successful entrepreneur, because that's not for the faint of heart.
Right, right,
And doing that on a wing and a prayer just doesn't work. You need some strategies, and you need a business plan, and you need resources, and you need mentorship, and that program's offered that to small businesses, and we're hoping that continues to grow. I think there's certainly um, opportunities for the community to have choices and where to shop and where to go and what to do. And with all that brings challenges,
right.
that you have to work through. But any growing and thriving town are going to have those challenges. And I wouldn't trade that for being a dying town, which there are many in North Carolina or in other areas that are losing people instead of gaining people.
Right, right. So we hear about sponsorships and things like that, but I think the mentoring, investing yourself in someone else,
Hmm.
is just as important. I know a lot of business people in Johnson County, Wake County, they did the hard knocks the first 5 years,
Yeah,
and they've done all of this. And a lot of them would say, if I could go back, well, you don't want the ones who are going into business to
yeah,
have to deal with it if they can have something that gives
exactly.
them a roadmap and says, "Here's how you do this." Now, be careful of this. I myself wish that I had been with a nonprofit, a larger one,
Sure.
and
Oh,
had about a
absolutely.
couple years just to see how
Mhm.
that worked, because you just step into it and then
Oh,
you
yeah.
realize,
What do we call it?
you
Baptized by fire?
by fire, and it definitely was. It
Yes, I
definitely
I
was.
know.
But it's been interesting to see the difference,
Yeah,
what I expected to come out of a chamber.
yeah,
Also knowing that anybody that goes through Clayton knows that it is booming. I
yeah,
mean, those kind of things. What's wonderful is statistics are showing that people are going back to that. I want my hometown. I want it to be,
yeah,
I don't mind big box and those kind of things, but I want my options of where I go downtown, and
yeah.
I can walk the streets and
Well, I
things.
I think that we have been very strategic and very intentional about keeping that hometown feel while we expand and grow at the same time. And that's not an easy thing
It's
to
not
do.
easy at all.
But I think we're doing a very good job of trying to make that as happen as much as possible. And I think we're very, very fortunate in this area that most towns are experiencing that. And I'm glad Clayton's one of them.
Do you think I was listening, do you think the launch Joko being your passion and your heart kind of goes back to the women's club because that seems to be a mentoring thing? It really was about getting people in and maybe not as a elementary or middle school or high schooler, but people who are going into business very young in the business, no matter what their age.
Well, if there's any advice that I could give to anyone, whether you're a business owner or not, you need to have mentors in your life
Absolutely.
because they help shape you, they help form you, they help give you direction, they point you to resources that you wouldn't normally have access to, and I'm extremely grateful and thankful to the mentors within our community that has stepped up, not only just to launch JOCO, but we have a student entrepreneur program as well for high school students at Corinth, Cleveland, and Clayton.
Okay.
And we've had mentors step up, no question, ask. I just say, hey, are you interested? The answer is always yes. We also have an Inspire mentoring program for at-risk middle school students. And I have people who are volunteering for that. And just not in an organized way, too, because I can see that happening within a room. You mentioned the networking events,
Right.
and most people do equate chambers with networking, and networking is a very important part of branding yourself, especially if you're a small business and you're an entrepreneur, or you're and even a larger companies who want to show that they're giving back and how that they can connect the people that work for them with these small businesses. So
Right.
it's an ecosystem that works together. And but I see it in the room. I stand on the steps at during our coffees and I just watch because I like to watch people and how people are interacting. And I can see somebody across the room say, well, this is what I do, or this is the organization that I belong to. And then somebody on the other side of the room, I can see their face. Oh my gosh, that's somebody I need to talk to. And then see all that at the end, and everybody's just going to see who they need to speak with, and they've been connected to somebody that's going to help their business grow, or some volunteer opportunity that they want to be involved in an
Right.
organization. And I just love it. I really do.
Yeah, I could see where someone who mentors a business person that's sitting out there thinking, I've done the sponsorship thing, and it's very important. Obviously, nonprofits and any organization,
Well,
the
sure, we need
financial side,
funding to work,
but
but
the mentoring side, where there could be a friendship that's so long lasting, where
oh,
you see yourself in that business person saying, "I was just like that, and I feel so good, and I've
yes.
seen this business grow, and know that some of the pitfalls and challenges that I had." I was able to tell them, forecasted ahead. This is kind of things that you need to be thinking about. And so the challenges of today, obviously 23 years ago, the
Hmm.
challenges were much different, but there are things that have been a common best practice or a
Well, you know
common things
what a
that,
common best practice is relationships. Everything the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It still rings true.
it
It's
is.
those
It is.
relationships that you build that, you may not need this person's services, but you might know somebody that does, and you make those connections, and you just give of your knowledge and what you know and your resources freely. That's just so important. I've seen friendships develop through the Chamber of Commerce, business relationships bloom and flourish, and it's just fantastic to
Yeah,
watch.
I think I've found several good friends on unloading turkeys at the Clayton Area Ministries. That
Exactly.
was just a
And
really
you
neat
heard
in the
about it
back of
at
that.
one of our
Yes,
meetings,
that
and
was
you just said,
need people
"Hey,
to be
sign me up."
there. And
Yeah.
so going down there to think I was just going to volunteer, but getting up in that truck and the ones that were, waiting for the truck and that
Yeah.
time of, what do you do? And those now when you go to one of the networking meetings, it's not networking, it's checking out your friends and what they're doing and that
Exactly.
kind of stuff. That's a
Exactly.
great, this is a great, I think we have not had anyone that came from a business perspective to say the mentorship, this volunteering is how important it is.
Volunteering is extremely important. You
Yep.
know this, and
Yep.
you're part of Rotary. I'm part of Rotary, and it's kind of those relationships that you build when you're when you're working beside somebody with somebody on a project, and you're like you said, you're just talking.
That's right.
And we have Harvest Festival coming up, and it takes a lot of volunteers. And I've seen friendships and people working together and learning more about each other. That's where you get to the meat of who
Right.
people are.
Right.
And
Well, I think
that's
too,
important.
for me, volunteering, whether it be the Rotary Club or some of the local things, I kind of get in my space, and so
Yeah.
if it's not anything to do with adults with disabilities or something in that range or that field, I haven't really been a part of it. And I think being outside of that and seeing the bigger needs and having a better awareness of
Yeah.
how many different things are going on and how many ways, like
Oh,
just
it's
unloading
amazing.
turkeys is physical, but
Yeah.
it's really nice. I mean, it was a lot more enjoyable. You really didn't have to figure out what you were supposed to do. It's pretty obvious what you were supposed to do. So there are
Exactly.
things like that are one time or once a year.
Yeah.
There's things that are ongoing. There's some things that you just come in and you just do kind of basically what you're told and go in the flow of things. And then there's mentorship where you are bringing experience to the table.
Yep.
I mean, it is very necessary for you to have long-term experience and some things that you can bring to the table. So that whether it be physical, whether it be something that it's a learned experience or a business
Yeah.
experience, I think those are really important in the field of serving. And I can say for me, serving has just it's just a joy when you walk away from it, because it's
Mhm.
not about what you did for somebody else. It's really for yourself. I
Yeah.
mean, you really get this really sense of pride about being a part of something bigger
Yeah.
than yourself,
That's right.
or what your small world is, and
Yes.
and my
You have
world is very
the
small.
giving part, but then you have the receiving part,
Yes, yes,
which
yes.
is even more important.
It is, and it is something that happens naturally. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody would serve there in any capacity of volunteering or giving something without something in return, as
Yeah.
far as concrete something. It's that inside where your heart just blows up because you've had this wonderful experience and you met these wonderful
Yeah.
people, or you met people that were not a part of Clayton Area Ministries, but the Rotary. The chamber that was there, of course, some are Rotary. Most of us serve in different capacities and things,
Yes.
but it
Yes.
does. It opens up a world of bigger service.
It does.
So, but this has been wonderful. I think Johnston County is exploding.
It
There's so
is.
much going on. I mean, we're looking at how we can meet needs down there. I know
Yeah.
that with the chamber, one of the things that again with all towns is how do we keep our town feeling like this wonderful community without it being so separated and segregated the way that it can happen.
Yeah.
But I've heard of several communities outside of ours, was going through. I know Wake Forest was going through it years ago when I was in seminary, and it was big box was coming in, and they were worried that they would lose their town, and so they worked really hard too,
Yeah.
to save their town. So downtown is this place that you want to
Yeah.
go.
Well,
But
we have some amazing people moving into this community,
yes,
and the people are really the heart of what is happening,
that's right.
and we have such a servant-hearted community that is just refreshing
Right.
to me.
And you not only have to create that environment of serving in hometown, but you have to maintain it.
Yes, you
So you
do.
have people coming in, and so you have to make sure that they come into that kind of environment,
Yeah.
of serving and knowing that we help each other.
Yeah.
That's the great community. I always say that there's not a person that's on staff on any town that says this makes our town the greatest. It's everybody who's not getting paid are the ones that
Exactly.
are doing that. There's some
Yeah.
that's orchestrating it, but the reason that it's a great town is because of the people
Yeah.
that have moved into that.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed today. Thank you again, Dana, for
having
coming.
me.
This was very uplifting to me. I know Johnston County, if you live in Johnston County, it is exploding. You already know that. If you want to know where traffic worse than Raleigh is, you can go to Clayton and realize that is even worse than
We're
Raleigh.
working on it. We're working.
It is, but it's because it's a great place to be, and people are moving there because of the school systems and the community that is there. If this has inspired you in some way, if it's encouraged you, I ask that you share this with a friend. There are so many that have not found the joy of serving, and they are missing out, and we know they're missing out. And if you're serving, you know that there's such a great feeling of accomplishment and blessings that you feel back when you serve others who are in need. So until next time, we'll see you again on The Serving Effect. I want to take this opportunity to thank Smith Addressing and Machine Service for hosting the location where we do our podcast, The Serving Effect, and to our sponsors, the Morning and the Midday Rotary Clubs of Garner. We want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to share in this podcast of how people can get involved in their community and make a difference in the lives of others.